I'm Logan Crawford, and right now we are uncovering a remarkable real life journey that echoes the spirit of Mark Twain. The name of the book, Barbours Cut, Beyond the River's Reach. It is written by a terrific author. Her name is NancyEPotter, and she brings to life the inspiring story of her great grandparents, especially Clyde A. Barbour, a steamboat captain turned industrial pioneer whose dreams reached far beyond the Mississippi River. This is a powerful tale of grit, love, legacy, and the kind of honest determination that shaped the American dream. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her wonderful book. The links are below the interview. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us here today.
It's my pleasure.
This is quite a story, especially based on the fact that it's based on a true story, your family's history. What inspired you to write it?
Well, it was never really an inspiration so much as it was always gonna be kind of thing, because I grew up and my grandmother, who's Captain Barbour's daughter, told stories of him my entire life. The tales were bigger than life. He was bigger than life. And we were always surrounded, as I am now, with memorabilia from him. And so he was sort of a real life person to me. And it was such a grand tale. And I've been a writer all my life. I was always going to write it. It was just a matter of when. And then once I started, it took almost 4 decades to do it.
Wow. Wow. When you were doing your research, was there something that really surprised you about Clyde's life?
A lot of things surprised me. It surprised me because, of course, I had a stilted view of him when I started out. A lot of things surprised me. It surprised me that there are people who really didn't like him and thought he had done a bad job in different companies. I was surprised to find out for certain that he'd had affairs. That was startling to me. Good thing my grandmother's not here. I'm sure she probably knew anyway. That was startling. And I think maybe even more startling was how many companies he had. He had companies in Europe and in Mexico and all over this country. And it wasn't just one industry. It wasn't just oil and gas. It was carbon black. It was, transportation. It was just any number of things. Just remarkable.
Absolutely. A true titan, as the word was
Absolutely.
used back then. Tell us a little bit about the story. Give the folks at home who haven't read the book a little bit of an overview.
Well, it starts off with Clyde and his family who lived and worked on a flatboat, which is basically a glorified raft floating down the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. And they traded things. It was sort of like a wholesale store. And they went up and down the river trading things at little ports that the big ships couldn't get to. And so that's where it begins. The second part of the beginning is my great grandmother running away from home because she was going to be forced to marry a man that she didn't want to marry. So she connects with the Barbours on the flatboat, and a year later marries Clyde. Clyde, once the flatboat journey kind of ended with the railroads coming in, they were on stern wheelers. So he was able to go from this flatboat to stern wheelers, and suddenly he was transporting everything on the bayous of Louisiana and started a family. And it was like everything he touched turned to gold. So he propelled himself throughout the industries that he was interested in.
Amazing. Talk to us about the title Barbours Cut.
Okay, well, if you're from Houston, you most likely know a Barbours Cut. In the Houston Ship Channel, there's Barbours Cut and Barbours Terminal. His idea back in the 20s was that it took 6 long hours to sail from the Gulf up the Houston Ship Channel to the port to unload and turn around. So that was like a 12-hour journey. So he wanted to cut the time in half. It's the kind of thing he did. He could just see things that other people didn't see. So there was this little cut there. So he dredged it and started the whole thing, which is why it's called Barbours Cut. And it is only a 3-hour sail from the Gulf to Barbours Cut to unload and turn back around. Well, the Depression happened, and it wasn't until 1977 that it was actually operational. Now it's one of the largest container terminals in the country, and so it's one of the reasons that they call it Port Houston is one of the largest ports in the country.
Amazing. So he was truly a man of vision. Like you said, he didn't just accept the things that were and, dealt with it. He actually, forged his own path and made his own
Yes,
cut in this case.
absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, no one else was thinking about that, but
Yeah.
he'd been up and down the ship channel forever, and it didn't make any sense to him as a businessman to spend that much time. And it was circuitous, and it was shallow and narrow, and they were dredging it all the time. So that was about his final thing that he did, and big thing that he did before he passed away was Barbours Cut. And so, in trying to find a title, which was very difficult, it became Barbours Cut.
Very,
And
very fitting.
I figured that even if people didn't know about Barbours Cut, it might intrigue them because it's not spelled like a barber who cuts your hair. It's someone's last
Exactly.
name. So I thought it
Exactly.
would be intriguing.
Exactly. How did growing up hearing stories of your great grandfather's influence impact your worldview?
Well, I think first of all, I was fortunate enough as a young girl to live in Europe. So not only did I have these tales of my grandfather, great grandfather, who had spanned continents, but I was over there and I was learning about different cultures and different people. And I think the combination of actually being over there where he had spent so much time and living this life full of legacy just made my mind expand. I think that my mind was open, and it expanded it to accept all kinds of things. And I think when I get discouraged, I remind myself that Clyde's blood's running through my veins and that he wouldn't have gotten discouraged. And I think that's part of what kept me going too, was through all these years and all the research was that it was a grand tale and I was going to be the one to tell it.
Amazing. Amazing. Have you envisioned this as a film?
I envisioned it as a TV series.
Okay.
It's a very
Wonderful.
long book. It's
Yep.
550 pages. It definitely has 3 seasons in it. And I'm
Hmm.
writing the sequel. The sequel is my grandmother's life, their child. And yeah, it's the characters are very deep and very complicated. And I think there are many spin-offs that could happen out of it. So that's
Absolutely.
my next goal is to figure all that out.
And your family's history is America's history. It kind of ties together. And I think it's a lot of information that people today aren't really even aware of.
Or don't
That
care about, unfortunately,
exactly,
sometimes,
exactly, exactly. If it's
Yes.
not digital, if it doesn't, turn on with your finger, they're not that interested.
Well, can
Talk to
you
us a little
imagine
bit.
the little bit of technology they had? They didn't even have necessarily telephones across the ocean. He did all this work with no technology.
It's amazing. And part of the fact was he was very hands-on. He started on that flatboat, which empowered him with the know-how of a sailor, as opposed to just
Absolutely.
being a businessman.
Right. And he
Yeah,
learned how to barter with people and how to get along with difficult personalities, including those in his family, his father, who was the kind, helping riverman, but also a raging alcoholic, depending
yeah,
on the day.
yeah,
And his brother became an alcoholic and a
yeah,
bigamist. He had a
yeah.
lot to deal with, but he was not going to let that stop him. He just tried to help everyone around him. He was that kind of person.
Absolutely. Talk to us about Jenny's role in supporting Clyde, both personally and professionally.
Well, first of all, they had very romantic relationship, and they enjoyed each other's company a lot. Jenny had come from a little Kentucky farmhouse, and when she met Clyde, they were more or less on the same level in society. Clyde a little worse off than Jenny. Well, when Clyde started making this money and becoming successful, Jenny was uncomfortable. She never really settled into this life. And he wanted more than anything for her to be with him, going everywhere and traveling and learning all these things. And she was too timid to do that. So her supporting role, she wanted to be at home taking care of the family. And he was off on his next venture. So,
Right.
but from what I've been able to figure out and been told, the love never died. It was just, two people in love on very different currents,
I think a lot of relationships were like that in the past. I don't think there was this, equal footing of, sharing household responsibilities,
No, no,
you
no, no, no,
know,
no, not at
not
all.
at all. It's just the way it was. So women didn't take it as a slight if he was out,
No.
conquering the seas.
And she loved that about him. I mean,
Yeah.
he was just this visionary. And I think of him as it's kind of sounds stupid now to say, but as a manifester.
Mhm.
He would think
Yeah.
about something and he'd think like the carbon black, which I don't want to tell that story, but how he managed to patent a way to make twice as much carbon black out of a certain amount of oil. He just would he would think I'm going to do this, I'm going to figure this out, and he would figure it out. So I think that I'm that way. Hopefully I try to be that way.
Without a doubt. What do you hope readers take away from your story?
First of all, it's like you said, it's the American dream.
Hmm.
I feel like anyone in this country can still do that. It would be a very different road nowadays than it was then. But that with determination and with insight, that you can do whatever you want to do. I think that's part of it. Part of it is I want people to appreciate my great grandfather because even in Houston, he's not a name. Well, Barbours Cut's a big thing. But other than Barbours Cut, he's not a name on the streets. He's not a name on a building. He's kind of forgotten. So I wanted people to appreciate him for what he did for Houston. And I thought that it was just entertaining and educational. And that one of the things I really wanted it to be was a book for men and women. I didn't want it to be a love story. I wanted it to be about his life and have the love story entwined in all of it. But I wanted it to be a book that any intelligent person would enjoy reading.
Exactly. Well, Clyde is forgotten no longer because of this wonderful book. It's called Barbours Cut Beyond the River's Reach. It is a compelling true story of honor, ambition, and the American spirit. Nancy, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Great having you on the show. I appreciate your wisdom and your insight to the folks at home. I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time.